The Hidizs MyLin Special Edition is a retune and repackaging of their MS2 Pro. Same zinc alloy shell, same hybrid drivers, but a different look and sound. If you're not familiar with the MS2 Pro, that's fine, this video stands on its own, but if you're familiar, then the short version is that the MyLin smooths out the treble and pushes the bass forward over what the MS2 Pro does. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Norb, and I review audio here from the point of view of a classically trained musician and a user experience designer. Hidizs sent me these for my honest thoughts. No money changed hands, and they had zero input into my conclusions. Links will be in the description, including my previous review of the MS2 Pro. The MyLin has a launch price of $89 to $99, and there's a lot to like here. As you can see, the unboxing on the MyLin is far more theatrical than your average IEM. Full color artwork of the mascot character Lin is on the box, and inside you get a small acrylic diorama, stickers, and a microfiber cloth alongside the IEM gear. 0.78mm 2-pin detachable cable, 6 pairs of ear tips in 2 styles, 3 tuning filters with a carrying case, and a storage pouch. Now, the Lin character has also been part of other Hidizs products, but here she takes center stage. As an anime fan myself, do I like this? Sort of. It's gimmicky, absolutely, and it won't do a thing for the sound. But it's fun to get all this extra stuff. Whether this aesthetic appeals to you, that's your call, but the whole experience does feel more interesting than just opening a box, and I do appreciate that. One minor complaint, the ear tips are stored in little holes that make them a pain to remove. I had to use a pen cap to get them out of there. Hidizs, just a request, if you could include something for this, I'd really appreciate that. The MyLin's design is pretty much identical to the MS2 Pro. Same shell, same weight at about 13 grams per side, same comfort. If you've worn the MS2 Pro before, you already know that they're not huge, and I find them comfortable even though the metal can get cold during mornings. Look at that, they even have the same MS2 Pro branding name on the devices. So the difference is, of course, you have MyLin here on the back, whereas you don't with the MS2 Pro. The big difference here visually is the faceplate. It's a carbon fiber style inlay under glossy resin that just looks beautiful. I already liked the MS2 Pro, but this is definitely a visual upgrade. Fair warning, glossy surfaces do love fingerprints, though I find them less noticeable with this one because of the color. Still, this is why they gave you this cloth so that you can polish this off. It also works well for eyeglasses. The cable included is also nice. It's a cable, it works well, it looks good, that's all I care about. I opted for the 3.5mm input, but you can also get it in 4.4mm. So what do these sound like? The MyLin is a bass-forward smooth treble IEM with a warm tilt without being soupy. The treble is smooth and forgiving. Low mids carry a lot of the weight, and the bass is definitely present. Before I get into details, let's talk about Hidizs' tuning system because it is a central part about how they sound and the overall value prop. There are 3 interchangeable nozzle filters. Red for bounce, as you can see I have that installed, white for bright, and black for dark. And you swap them out by unscrewing the nozzle. No EQ, no app, simple and effective. Just be careful not to drop them. I'm not sure if they sell them on the site, I hope they do, but I haven't been able to find them. The balance filter is the default. It's bass forward, but it is controlled. Mids are present and treble is smooth. I paired these mostly with the balanced neutral ear tips that come with these and also the C&M ones that they sell, and that was my go-to for most of my listening. The bright filter pushes things more V-shaped, more treble energy, more upper mid presence. On most IEMs, that would bother me. In fact, on the MS2 Pro, it did. I couldn't use this bright filter at all. But on the MyLin, it is surprisingly enjoyable, and I spent a lot of time here with J-pop, K-pop, and classical. If you've watched my videos, you know how rare this is. If you haven't, then welcome. The dark filter is warmer, bassier, and more relaxed. For most music, it took too much realism away from me, but for lo-fi or dark ambient while working, this was just right. Pairing this one with the bass filter tips made it a bit too dark for me, but I can see the combo being very appealing for a lot of people. As I mentioned before, I also have been using the C&M ear tips from Hidizs if you can get them. They're about $25 extra, I believe. Now, I settled on these for comfort, but honestly, these included ear tips are great, no complaints. Now, let's talk a little bit about the bass. I don't often say that something has too much bass, but the MyLin maybe has too much bass. Maybe. It's not muddy, the sound is clear, but the bass is the dominant force here. The dynamic driver is doing good work. When the volume is loud enough, you get real physicality here. You can feel the kick, the bass lines, the low strings. At lower volumes, that physicality drops, but the tonal balance is still good. There is a boost that starts from the low mids and runs up through the mid bass up to the sub bass extension. It gives everything that weight and body, which works well for a lot of music, but it can also overpower the rest of the mix if you're not careful with the source and tips, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Moving on to the mids, as I mentioned, the low mids carry a lot of bass energy and it gives instruments real presence, sometimes more than the vocals. With a balanced filter, instruments feel more alive than voices. Don McLean's Vincent is a very voice-forward song, and the instruments being pushed as far forward as they are with the violin let me pick up a lot of details I'd missed on other sets. That's the strength of this tuning. It gives the instrumental layer body and texture. The trade-off is that vocals don't always sit in front as some people want. The upper mids are smoother than the MS2 Pro. Hidizs pulled back the energy in the 3 4 kHz range, which I appreciate because it could make the MS2 Pro shouty at times. That makes the violin more forgiving, especially over long listening sessions. Now, the treble is where the sound of the violin really matures meaningfully, I think, over that of the MS2 Pro. This is smooth. No harsh peaks, no fatigue. Even with the brighter filter and the balanced tips, I could listen for extended periods and enjoy it. Normally, I don't like a V-shaped response because I often find that the treble is harsh and offensive. Not on the violin, and that was a real treat. There's still enough energy up top to keep things crisp. Cymbals have presence, consonants are clear, but it rarely crosses into harsh territory. All that to say, if you found the MS2 Pro's treble a little too hot, like I did in many cases, the violin fixes that. Voices are a strong suit here. And I say that even though the bass can sometimes overshadow them. Female vocals can occasionally get a little bit bright in certain spots, but that is a production thing. In the vast majority of cases, I enjoyed women's vocals across genres, from Tracy Chapman to Love to Taylor Swift to Lana Del Rey. Men's voices are sonorous and powerful, and a real treat with these. Those boosted low mids bring up the full register forward in a way that just sounds right. Now, for the price, the separation and imaging are solid. Acoustic music has a real nice instrumental separation, and even in busier rock tracks, things stayed coherent. The stage is wider than deep, which is typical for Hidizs, and the timbre is surprisingly good for a hybrid at this price. Busier tracks can see instruments mushed together a little bit, but that's on par with everything else at this price range. Now, all of this is very much source dependent. So let's talk pairing. These are 17 ohms with 111 decibel sensitivity. Anything can drive them. Your phone, your basic dongle, whatever you've got. But source matching matters because these have a ton of bass. If your source also boosts the bass, that can overpower things very quickly. The iFi GoldLink Max is a perfect example. I love the physical rumble that this brought out. I could really feel it. But it had a habit of overpowering everything else to the point of discomfort. Now, this is where things get a little bit weird for me. My GoldLink Max is actually broken, I think. There was an iOS update a while back, and it cut the volume roughly in half. I tried firmware updates, but it didn't fix it. But here's the thing. I don't want it fixed. The GoldLink Max now finally gets quiet enough for me while still delivering great sound. Does that make sense? I feel like it shouldn't make sense, but let me know in the comments. Does it make sense to you? Now, the Hidizs SD2 DAC was a better pairing from a sound perspective, more controlled tonal balance, for example. But the SD2 pushes too much power. Even at the lowest volumes, the violin with the SD2 was just way too loud for me. My take on all this, pair the Lin with something that is more neutral and where you actually have control of the volume. The nice HTK Octave is probably my choice for this. It's got a relatively neutral sound with a slightly bright tilt. It does have an included EQ, but overall, it's a really solid device. I did a review on it. Go ahead and check it out. It's in the description. You'll get clarity from your source, while the violin delivers the physicality from its bass. If you want to lean all the way into warm and bassy, then the dark filter with the black bass tips through a warm source will definitely get you there. Though if you want a very solid rumble, that's where the source that pushes that forward matters. Moving on to my genre takeaways, I liked the violin with just about everything, but these stuck out. Classical surprised me the most. The Mendelssohn Violin Concerto in E minor, performed by Hilary Hahn, that's one of my favorite test pieces. It sounded fantastic on the balanced filter with the C anemone in neutral ear tips. Double bass and cellos were physical, but they were never overpowering. The violin was clear without being offensive. For jazz, men's vocals are amazing on these. For women's vocals, Diana Krall worked better for me than Love, for example, which surprised me, though that was more of a production mix thing. For vocal jazz, the dark filter was definitely the way to go. And if you love plucked double bass, you're really going to love these. Folk and acoustic music get a lot of body from the boosted low mids. Tracy Chapman's Fast Card, for example, works really well here. Guitarist-vocalist pairings are a marvel, especially for lower voices, though more bright and wispy voices like Alison Krauss also do well. Reggaeton and hip-hop are natural fits for this, especially with that bass. But pop is the absolute sweet spot. This is where I spent most of my time listening and where the myelin was most consistently enjoyable. This is where I had the most fun. Finally, for spoken content, these are fine for that, but this is where that low mids boosted area potentially becomes soupy. Not bad for me, I actually prefer that, but if you want a really crisp voice, this is where the MS2 Pro overtakes the myelin. Comparing these directly, Hidizs says that they created the myelin to be a more mature sound than the MS2 Pro, and maybe it is. I'd call it relaxed, forgiving, and fun, but with a bass emphasis that won't be for everyone. But with the tuning filters, it doesn't have to be. Different filters for different moods, different music, different days. If you're choosing between the myelin and the MS2 Pro, the MS2 Pro is brighter, leaner, and more energetic up top. The myelin is smoother and bassier. It fixed the treble peaks I didn't love with the MS2 Pro. I prefer the myelin, but I can see people going either way. So, who should buy the myelin? If you want something that's bright and analytical, this is not really that. If you need flat bass, this is not it. And if your source already boosts the bass, then be ready to experiment with the tips and filters depending on your mood. There are times when the bass will be a bit much, even for me. Tip rolling helps. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and thanks again to Hidizs for sending these out for review. If you found this useful, be sure to hit that like button and hit subscribe for more content like this. Take care.